Hello and welcome, thanks for tuning in. It's nice to have you with us. Now, this is one of the most frequently asked questions I see in detailing related Facebook groups or under videos. What is the difference between the dark and light versions of the waxes by Soft99? Is there a difference? Can I use the light one for my dark paint? And so on. And in this video, we will answer exactly this question together with you. As you can see, I already prepared a dark and a white test hood in order to answer you these questions in a comprehensive manner and in a way that you can see the differences for yourself. However, before we start with that, we have to talk about for a minute or two about the very extensive range of waxes that Soft99 offers and which of those waxes actually are available in different versions. The worldwide probably best known wax from Soft99 is Fusocoat, and this actually leads to a lot of confusion because a lot of people call the brand that makes those waxes Fuso and refers to all the other waxes that they do also as Fuso. However, Fusocoat or Fuso is the product that they make, and Soft99 is actually the manufacturer, the Japanese manufacturer of those products. The reason why this wax is so popular is that it is amongst the most durable, most hydrophobic, most resistant waxes out there. Soft99 themselves also talk about a wax coat. Some people will tell you that this is not a wax, but this is a paint sealant in paste wax form. However, I'd like to quote John from the Forensic Detailing channel: if it comes in a tin and if it looks like a wax, then it is a fucking wax. You see 4 different tins here because this is the old version, which is sold at some places. The old version you can spot with this characteristic sticker here, which hints to the 12 months of durability. The new version you can spot by these honeycomb structures on the tins there. But the important thing is, for both the old and the new versions, there were 2 different variants, which is for dark paints and for light paints. Then we have the so-called water block wax. Here you have to be careful because there are 2 different versions of it. One version with these rather large Japanese signs here and Super Splash written on it. This is a fully synthetic wax, mainly aimed at hydrophobics, and indeed it is, in my opinion, the most hydrophobic wax that Soft99 does. Even a tiny bit more hydrophobic than Fusocoat. And if you are someone who would want to have the hydrophobics of Fusocoat but not the potentially difficult application, then I would recommend go for this one. And then we have water block gloss type, which is, I think, officially not produced anymore by Soft99. It disappeared from their homepage. However, this one has a tiny bit of carnauba in it, so it does a little bit more to the finish of your car than this one did. However, it still is a very hydrophobic wax. The easiest way to spot the difference between those 2 is the gloss type has this sticker on the lid, which the Waterblock Super Splash does not have. However, the more important information is there are 3 different versions of the Waterblock Super Splash. This one for dark paint, this one for light and metallic paints, and then there is even one for white paint. And with this one, I'm not perfectly sure, but I think there were at least 2 versions, again for dark paint, this one for, you can see there, pearl and metallic paint, and I think there even was one for white paint as well, but that's the range for Waterblock. Now we talk about Soft99's show waxes, and here it gets a tiny bit complicated. Kiwami is not so well known in the English-speaking world. However, we Germans know it quite a bit and also love it to bits because this is probably the best all-rounder within Soft99's lineup because it is as or almost as hydrophobic as Fusocoat or Waterblock. It has a higher carnauba content in there, so it also does something for the finish of your car, and it is probably the easiest wax from Soft99 to apply and still very resistant and very durable. So again, if you are someone who wants the capabilities of Fusocoat or almost the capabilities of Fusocoat with a much improved application process, then you should go for the Kiwami. Kiwami is also the official successor to King of Gloss because this is a show wax that consists heavily of resins, and this one, as I said, has a higher Canuba content in it. King of Gloss also is definitely the most complicated wax when it comes to the different variations. This one is easy. This one is for black and dark paint. It has a blue bubble on there. So this one for the darker paints. But then it gets more complicated because there are 3 different versions of it. One that is not visible on Soft 99's homepage anymore is a silver tin with a green bubble on there. This was the one for light and metallic paint. And then we have 2 different versions for white paint. The white tin with the orange dot on it, this one is for pearl whites. This is the, I would say, more traditional wax. However, then there also is a version with a white tin and a red dot. And with the red dot, you have to be careful because there are actually shops who will sell you the version with the red dot as the one with the orange dot. And this is wrong because the one with the red dot could actually be called an all-in-one polish because it is much softer in nature and it does contain polishing agents. So it's much more like an all-in-one, like a glaze, like a cleaner wax, and therefore you have to be careful with these 2 different versions of the King of Gloss for white paint. With Kiwami it's a little bit simpler. You have the one for dark paint, for light and metallic paint, and then there's also one for white paint. Then we have one additional show wax from Soft 99, which is Mirror Shine. Mirror Shine is rather special because it is a water-based wax, which is also why you apply this wax a bit special, namely with a microfiber towel. You grab a bit of wax, spread it amongst your paint until you don't see any residue anymore, and then you're done. You don't need to buff this one out. And it's also very simple in terms of the variations. You have one for dark and black paint, you have one for light and white paint, and that's it. Then we need to talk about Soft 99's cleaner waxes. Now, cleaner waxes are a bit special because they contain either cleaners or polishing agents. I'm not 100% sure which one is in which one of those waxes because I'm waiting on an answer from Soft 99 on a question of me from that. However, what I do know is these 2 are rather old waxes from Soft 99 and they are, as I said, cleaner waxes. There is a version for dark and black paint. There is a version for white paint and there also is a version for silver paint. However, again, this is more like an all-in-one polish or product, which also means it has a rather special consistency. So if you buy this and expect a traditional hard wax, this is not what you will get. This is more like a cream-like polish. So be careful if you order these waxes. The slightly more modern version of those cleaner waxes is the new Scratch Clear. You can identify it by the Revolution, which is written on there. This one acts more like a glaze, which means it is capable to fill light paint defects, and there's an exclamation mark on light paint defects. This is not a polish. There is a version for dark paint, this is this one, then there's a version for light and metallic paint, and there's also a version for white paint there. And then probably one of the oldest waxes from Soft 99, which is Haneri, which is also a cleaner wax, which you can identify by this rather special yellow lid on there. And I can also tell you this is one of the worst smelling waxes out there. It really, really stinks. There are 2 versions of this. However, it's a bit easier for you because I think the second version, which I don't have, is especially for dark paint because Soft 99 actually says that you are not supposed to use this one on dark and black paint. But as I said, I think it's only available in Japan. Then there's one additional very special wax, and this is a wax which Soft 99 says you can use as a topper for ceramic coatings. There are 3 different versions. However, this has nothing to do with the color of your paint, but with what those waxes do. This one is the water repellent type. This one is supposed to add a hydrophobic effect to ceramic coatings which don't have that. Then we have a watermark prevention type, which is supposed to prevent, as the name suggests, watermarks. And then there is also a scratch removal type, and this one should be able to fill up light scratches within the ceramic coating layer on your paint. And this is a rather special one, which also exists within the Soft 99 lineup. Then we have a last one, which is often available in shops, and this is the Soft 99 Premium Authentic. This is the one with the highest Canuba content in there. It comes in this golden tin. There is sometimes another version, I think it's an older one with a red tin. And there's also another version of it in Japan with another tin. However, I was not able until today to tell you what the difference is. However, there are not different versions for different paint types or colors, so you have just this one. So you now know which waxes by Soft 99 come in a version for black and light paint. However, you do not yet know how those waxes differ in terms of their ability to do something on your car's paint. This is why I prepared two different test panels, one with black paint, one with white paint. I had to polish the black hood because there were leftovers of wax from a previous test video on there. I polished it by hand in order to show you that this is perfectly possible. However, I would not recommend it to you because it is so incredibly tiring. And then I used a blue coarse Rupes polishing pad because it is a very abrasive pad to begin with, and then it gets even worse the more times you use it. And I created scratches and swirls in this direction on this black test panel in order to see how those waxes are able to fill those light scratches. I did not have to polish the white hood because Daniel, a community member from here in Switzerland who works at a Mercedes dealership, organized that I get this hood. It had to be replaced. However, before that it was repainted. So it is as defect-free as possible. I just quickly had to clean it. Then I taped off the test sections and I will now apply 6 different waxes by Soft 99 in the respective version for light and dark paint on those test panels. And this is Fuso Coat in the new version, Fuso Coat in the old version. I have Mirror Shine, I have Kiwami, I have Waterblock Super Splash, and I have the white and the black wax here. So that makes 12 different products I will now apply next to each other. And afterwards we will have a look at 2 different aspects, namely, are there differences in the application of those waxes, and then are there differences in the finish that those waxes leave behind. I now applied all the waxes on the dark, on the black test hood, and we will now have a look if there are differences in how they are visible on your paint, because there is the theory that the waxes for dark paint do contain coloring agents, which makes it easier for you to see where there is wax residue in order to be able to remove it properly. However, with old Fuso Coat, yes, I think you can see it there better than with the light version. However, with new Fuso Coat, I think it's the other way around. With Mirror Shine, I think it's pretty much the same. Then we will go over with Kiwami. I also think pretty even. Waterblock, and this is a nice aspect of Waterblock, finishes rather clear, which is why it's so much easier to apply it than, for example, Fuso Coat. And I also don't see significant differences in the black or white wax, which is why based on this test I cannot really support the theory that the waxes for dark paint finish in a different manner on your paint when they cure. And I actually think it much rather depends on how much wax you apply or how little you apply and how evenly you are able to spread it. So this myth is, I think, busted, at least for the dark paint. So as you can see, I now applied all the waxes on this white test section. And you now see 2 things. One, it is incredibly hard to see anything on white paint. And this also accounts for protective products. And this is an issue and a phenomenon with white and lighter color cars that cannot be solved, and that makes it incredibly hard to see any residue of any wax that you apply. The other thing is, I personally don't see any difference between the different kinds of waxes by Soft 99. See here Fuso, the old one, the new one. See here Mirror Shine, Kiwami, Waterblock, white and dark wax. So as I said, I personally don't see any wax that is better visible on this white test panel. So this theory that white waxes are better visible on white paint,
I think we also have to reject.
So I left the tins of the waxes intentionally open for you to see, because there are those people who tell or claim that the difference between the light and the dark versions of the waxes by Soft 99 are just pure marketing and that they are exactly the same. And at least based on the color, I have to clearly reject this theory, because every single one of those waxes is different. We have here old fuzzer coat, this is white, this is green, new fuzzer coat, green, white, then we have mirror shine, beige, a darker shade of beige, then we have Kiwami, red, beige, we have water block, green, beige, we have dark wax, which is this really hard and green wax, and then we have the white wax, which is this white soft cream. So with most waxes, there is at least a different color, and with some there's also a different texture, very obvious with this one. So the theory that they are exactly the same can also be rejected. And as a side note, I left the tins open for this test. Please close your tins up, because waxes with strong solvents, and Soft 99 makes such waxes, please always close those tins, because if those solvents start to evaporate, it's not healthy for you, and it's also not healthy for the wax, because it can dry out, there can be cracks, and over time it can become unusable. So always close those tins back up. So I now removed all the waxes, and as a side note, by far the easiest to remove is Waterblock Super Splash, which are comparably easy to remove. However, Kiwami starts to get a little bit more complicated if you leave it on for too long and use too much wax, and Mirror Shine and the old fuzzer coat definitely feel different, because if you do apply too much and you leave them on for too long, they are much harder to remove than the other ones. And there is a clear difference between the old and the new fuzzer coat in that respect.
I now removed the tape, and we have a closer look at the results. And I can definitely tell you, I don't see any difference in the finish that any of those waxes left behind, especially if we take a few steps back and look at it from different angles. None of the waxes for dark paint did create a dark black, gray, or anything like paint like that. The only wax I would say that has slightly, and I really mean slightly, darkened the white paint would be the darkened black wax. However, it's almost impossible for me to capture it on camera, so I think you don't really are able to see it. Then we have Waterblock, where you also don't see a difference between the two waxes. We have Kiwami. I also don't see any significant difference there. Mirror Shine, the light colored one, the dark colored one. Fuzzer coat new, fuzzer coat old, I also don't see any differences. And the old fuzzer coat, also there, I don't see any differences in the appearance or the finish that those waxes left behind. Let's look at it with a strong light source, which is a Scangrip Sun Match. You can see the old fuzzer light version there, then the dark version. Then we have new fuzzer coat, Mirror Shine, exactly the same. There you have the light colored one, then the dark colored one. Then we have Kiwami, dark and light, Waterblock, light and dark. And then we have the dark wax and the white wax. As I said, the only one I really see a slight difference is with the dark wax compared to the white wax. However, it's almost impossible to capture it on camera for you.
I also removed the tape from the black hood, and we will now have a look at that as well. Fuzzer coat new, no sorry, fuzzer coat old, black light, fuzzer coat new, black light, Mirror Shine, dark light, Kiwami, dark light, water block, dark light, dark and black wax, white wax. Now, you tell me if you see a difference between those different sections, and especially if we take a few steps back, I personally don't think that there is a visible difference. Well, I mean, the most important thing is none of the waxes for light paint suddenly turned this hood into a white or silver paint. So much to that. The only section I personally think there is a difference is this one, and it's the same as we saw on the white test panel. The dark and black wax, I think, had a more pronounced darkening effect than the white wax. And it's now a bit easier for me to capture it on camera. But with all the other waxes, here again, water block, Kiwami, mirror shine, Fuso new, Fuso old, I don't see a difference or a significant difference here in the effect those waxes created. We can also use the scan grip here. So this is old Fuso coat. I don't think there's a difference in its masking abilities there. Maybe there's a tiny difference in the masking ability of new Fuso coat, the dark version, which is here, compared to the light version. Then mirror shine, dark version, rather strong masking effect, I would say. Light version, similarly strong. There we have Kiwami, much less of a masking effect as mirror shine, as you can see. Light version, dark version. Now that looks a tiny bit better, yes. I think there is a difference. Yeah, that's the light version. That's the dark version. So there's a difference there. Water block, light version, dark version. I don't think there's a significant difference there. And then we have white wax and dark and black wax. And again, I think this one was able to mask paint defects a tiny little bit better. Yeah, you can see it there. So, there is a difference with some of the waxes regarding the ability to mask paint defects, which I think is rather interesting. Bonus round 1, I applied Taneri, which Soft 99 says you shouldn't use on black paint. And now you tell me if you see significant differences there. I applied it to about this section, so there should be the border. I personally don't see any effect. We will have a look at it with the scan grip. Nope. I don't see much of an effect there. So, I mean, Soft 99 obviously has its reasons why they say that you shouldn't use it on black paint, but it didn't destroy my test panel here. Bonus round number 2, I applied Pooh Boy's Nettie's Paste Wax in the white version. This is not explicitly sold by Pooh Boy's as a wax for white paint, it's just white in color. And Nettie's Paste Wax in the special edition black wax variant. And this is something completely different because this is a black wax. You see that it has dye in there because it changed the color of the applicator pad. And this also creates a visible effect because here was the black wax, there was tape. You can see I intentionally applied the tape next to the edge of the hood there, and there was the white wax. And I think there you can really see, yeah, now you see it perfectly. There is a visible, a strong darkening effect of the black wax compared to the non-black version of it. I think we can even better. Yeah, we can even see it better with this gang grip. And this is a completely different story, and such a wax for black paint makes sense because it deepens the color of it, especially on solid black, and that's something I just wanted to show you. Of course, I did the same thing here on the white hood, and now we really and clearly see an effect because you see there was the tape. You see that the natural wax, which is white or beige in color, did not really have an effect. However, the black one did darken the white paint. And that's why this wax is not really recommendable to use on white paint, because it steals the white color its brightness. That's why I say this is a completely different story. This makes sense. This has a visible effect on dark or white paint, which you can clearly see there. And that's something I wanted to show you. So let's talk about the conclusion of this video. At the end of the day, we have to conclude that it doesn't really matter which version of the respective wax you choose when it comes to the question if you should go for the dark or for the light version. I personally think that it is more important that you choose between the different waxes that Soft 99 offers, because there are differences between the new and the old version of FusaCoat, between Kiwami or Waterblock in regard to ease of use and the results that they create. Because as we clearly saw on the white and the dark test hoods I prepared, there were no significant differences in the finish that those waxes leave behind. And so you could say it really doesn't matter. None of the waxes for dark paint created a change in the visual appearance of the white hood. Maybe the dark and black wax did slightly so, and none of the waxes for light paint did change the appearance of the black hood neither. However, if you have a black car, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't go for the black version, and if you have a white car, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't go for the light or white versions of those waxes. Because as we also saw, the dark versions of those waxes on the dark test sections, at least some of them were able to mask light paint defects a tiny little bit better than the versions for white paint. And that's the point in this video where we have to talk a little bit about paint and color theory. Because the reason that you see paint defects better on darker colors is paint defects are cuts or are valleys within your paint's clear coat. And when a light ray now hits these cuts within your paint's clear coat and then starts to bounce off those borders of the cut, then you are able to see those paint defects under strong lights because of the darker background. On white paint or on light paint, however, this dark background is missing, and this is the reason why you don't really see paint defects, swirls and scratches so good on white or light colored paints. On the other hand, something like contaminants are much better visible on light paints. And this is one of the theories that are around when it comes to the differences of those waxes. Because some say, and I'm one person that does that the waxes by Soft 99 for dark paints do contain slightly more fillers, which are able to fill those light paint defects. Whereas the waxes for light colors do contain some sort of paint cleaners which help remove those contaminations on, for example, white paint. So, as I said, it makes perfect sense that those variations exist. It makes perfect sense that you go ahead and choose the respective wax for the respective color. However, if you just want to go with one of those waxes, it's perfectly fine to do so, because as we saw, at the end of the day, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But what do you do if you don't have a black or white paint? What is with red, blue, green and so on? And on some of the tins by Soft 99, it is written which version of the wax you should choose. And in general, you could say all the darker colors, meaning black, dark grays, reds, blues, greens and so on, you should go probably with the dark version. And if you have a white, silver, bright yellow, neon green or orange color, you are probably better off with the white or light version of the respective wax. But what do people do who have 2 cars or 3 cars and one is black and one is white? And in this respect, I think this video gives a clear answer to that, because on the white test hood we saw none of the waxes was able to create a visible difference in the finish. However, on the dark paint, there were some differences in the ability of those waxes to mask slight paint defects. So if you have two kinds of colors, a dark and a light one, I clearly recommend that you go with the dark version of the respective wax because it does more for your dark paint and does not really change anything on your light or white paint. All of this does not mean that all of this is nonsense, because we clearly saw that something like a specialized wax for black paint is able to create a very visible and striking difference on those dark paints, and it also created a major difference and a negative effect on the white hood, meaning that it darkened and flattened the appearance of this bright white paint. And in order to understand the existence of those waxes, I think we have to go back in time and in the history of waxes. And if I recall right, Dodo Juice was about the first manufacturer who introduced such waxes, because at the start there only was Rainforest Rub and Hard Candy. They were marketed as waxes for all colors. And then step by step, Dodo Juice introduced variants for light paints. These were the white pots. Then there was an orange and yellow pot. These are waxes for warm colors. And then there was a blue and a purple pot, and those were waxes for dark colored cars. And I think Dodo Juice was from the beginning very honest about it and said that the visual or visible change in the appearance of your car's paint will be at about 5%. And I think that's exactly how we as consumers have to look at those waxes. We will always only talk about the last few percentage points when it comes to our car's appearance and paint finish. And if we are honest with ourselves, that's exactly what detailing is about. Chasing those last few percentage points in the pursuit of perfection. And in this respect, I actually think it's not fair to say that the existence of those waxes is just marketing and that it is just based on a money-making strategy, because if a manufacturer feels that he is able to provide us with products which give us those last few percentage points, then I actually think it's fair game that they offer it to us. And I think and hope this is a fair conclusion to this video. If you liked it, leave us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!